You know that feeling when you look at your bank account at the end of the month and you're genuinely baffled? Like, you have a job, you have a salary, you didn't go on any crazy vacations, you didn't buy anything stupid, or at least nothing too stupid. And somehow, you've got $200 left until payday. And the worst part isn't even the $200. The worst part is that you can't really explain where it all went. There's no one big thing to point at. It's just gone. A little here, a little there, a subscription you forgot about, some food delivery, maybe a few online purchases that felt totally reasonable at the time. Here's the thing. I've talked to hundreds of people about this exact feeling, and almost every single one of them says the same thing. I just need to make more money, and then I'll be fine. And look, I get it. That feels true, but I'm about to show you exactly why that belief is one of the most expensive assumptions you'll ever hold on to. My name is Dave, and I spend way too much time thinking about the psychology behind why smart people make terrible money decisions. If you're someone who earns a decent income but still can't seem to get ahead financially, no matter how many budgets you build or how many times you tell yourself, "This month will be different," make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Today we are talking about minimalist money rules, and I promise you, this is not another stop buying coffee video. These rules go deeper than that. These rules are about rewiring the actual relationship you have with money, and by the end of this video, you're going to see your finances in a completely different way. Let's get into it. All right, so here's where most personal finance advice goes completely wrong. Almost every finance guru, every blog post, every budgeting course will tell you that the solution to your money problems is more structure, more categories in your budget, more tracking, more systems, more apps, more rules. And look, I understand the logic. If you can see every penny, you can control every penny, right? Wrong. Here's what most people don't realize. Complexity is the enemy of consistency, and consistency is the only thing that actually builds wealth over time. Think about it this way. I want you to imagine two people. Person A has a 47 category budget, tracks every receipt, has 3 separate savings accounts labeled in meticulous detail, and uses 2 different apps to monitor their spending. Person B has 3 buckets: spend, save, invest, and automates everything. Who do you think is actually ahead financially 5 years later? Almost every time, it's person B. Because here's the brutal truth about human psychology. We don't stick to complex systems. We just don't. Research from the Journal of Consumer Research found that decision fatigue, which is basically the mental exhaustion of making too many choices, significantly impairs our financial decision-making. The more micro decisions your financial system demands from you, the more likely you are to abandon it entirely. And this isn't a willpower thing. This isn't about discipline. It's just how brains work. Even people with incredibly high financial literacy fall into this trap. The system gets too complicated, life gets busy, you miss a week of tracking, and then the guilt kicks in, and then you just stop. This is where it gets really interesting. Minimalism in personal finance isn't about having less. It's about removing the friction that stands between you and good financial decisions. It's about designing a money system so simple that it almost runs itself. And that's the framework we're building today. Okay, rule number 1. And this one is going to feel almost too simple, but stay with me, because the math here is genuinely eye-opening. The 1-number rule says this: you only need to know one number to manage your money effectively. That number is your safe-to-spend daily amount. Here's how it works. Take your monthly take-home pay. Let's say that's $4,500 a month. Now, subtract your fixed monthly expenses: rent, car payment, insurance, subscriptions, minimum debt payments. Let's call that $2,800. That leaves you with $1,700 for everything else: food, entertainment, clothing, personal spending, whatever. Now, divide that by 30. $1,700 divided by 30 equals about $57 a day. That's your number, $57. Every morning when you wake up, you don't need to think about budgets or categories or tracking apps. You just need to know, have I spent more or less than $57 today? Pause. Let the simplicity of this hit. Now you might be thinking, but Dave, what about saving? What about investing? This doesn't account for any of that. Great point. And here's the key. Before you calculate your safe to spend, you take savings and investments off the top first. This is the famous pay yourself first principle. But we're making it minimalist. We're automating it so it never touches your checking account in the first place. So, if you want to save $500 a month and invest $300 a month, you adjust the math. $4,500 income minus $2,800 fixed expenses, minus $500 savings, automated, minus $300 investments, automated, equals $900 remaining divided by 30 equals $30 a day. Now your daily number is $30. That's it. That's your whole money management system. Here's the thing. This works because it replaces complexity with clarity. You're not tracking 12 categories. You're not agonizing over whether a work lunch counts as dining out or business expenses. You have one number. You know where you stand. You make better decisions. Studies from Harvard Business School have shown that simplifying financial decision-making frameworks leads to significantly better financial outcomes. Not because people suddenly become smarter with money, but because they stop making avoidance decisions. When money management feels manageable, people actually do it. Look, here is a stat that genuinely changes the way people think about their spending. And I've seen this play out over and over again with real people and real numbers. 90% of the financial damage in most people's budgets comes from 10% of their spending decisions. Not every latte, not every impulse buy at Target. 10% of decisions. And almost always, it's the same categories: housing, transportation, and recurring subscriptions/lifestyle creep. Let me break that down because this is so important. The average American household, according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, spends about 32 to 33% of their income on housing, about 15 to 17% on transportation. That's already pushing 50% of your income before you've bought a single meal, paid a single utility bill, or bought anything for fun. Here's what most people don't realize. If you optimize those two categories, almost everything else becomes manageable. But if you get those two categories wrong, no amount of cutting back on coffee or eating at home is going to save you. You can skip Starbucks every day for a year and save maybe $1,500. Or you can make one different decision about housing or transportation and save $5,000 to $15,000 in a single year. The math is brutal. And it's not what Instagram finance influencers want to talk about because it's not sexy. Nobody wants to hear, maybe you bought too much house. But I'd rather you hear it here and do something about it than keep grinding away at your discretionary spending while the big stuff quietly bleeds your bank account dry. Now, the minimalist audit works like this. Pull up your last 3 months of bank and credit card statements. I want you to find just 3 numbers. 1. Total monthly housing cost. Rent/mortgage plus utilities plus insurance. 2. Total monthly transportation cost. Car payment plus insurance plus gas plus maintenance averaged. 3. Total monthly subscriptions and recurring charges. Add those 3 up. Divide by your monthly take-home pay. What percentage do you get? If it's above 60%, you're in the danger zone. If it's above 70%, that's likely the primary reason you feel financially stuck. Not your discipline, not your habits. Yet the structure of your fixed expenses. This is where it gets really interesting. Fixed expenses are silent budget killers because they don't require a new decision every month. They just happen. Automatically. Quietly. While you're busy blaming yourself for getting Chipotle twice a week. The minimalist move here is to aggressively renegotiate or restructure one of these 3 categories. Just one. Not all 3 at once. That's complexity again. Just one. But make it count. Okay, I want to stop for a second and talk about something that doesn't come up enough in personal finance content. And honestly, it might be the most important thing I say in this entire video. There is a deeply embedded psychological belief that most of us carry around, and it sounds harmless. It sounds almost positive. And it goes like this. I work hard. I deserve this. Now look, you do work hard, and you do deserve good things. I'm not here to make you feel guilty for enjoying your life. But here's the thing about I deserve it spending. It's almost never about the thing you're buying. It's about emotional regulation. Dr. Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist who's done some of the most fascinating research on money behavior, has written extensively about what he calls money scripts, unconscious beliefs about money that we develop in childhood and carry into adulthood. One of the most common: money is meant to be spent, or its close cousin: I should enjoy my money now because the future is uncertain. And here's where it gets really fascinating from a neuroscience perspective. Spending money activates the brain's reward system, the same dopamine pathways triggered by food and social approval. And when you're stressed, tired, or emotionally depleted, your brain actively seeks those dopamine hits. It's not weakness, it's biology. But here's what most people don't realize. The satisfaction from a deserving it purchase lasts on average less than 72 hours before it returns to baseline. Research from Cornell University actually found that experiential purchases, experiences, travel, time with people, consistently outperform material purchases in long-term happiness, often by a factor of 2 or 3. So, the minimalist money rule here is this: before every non-essential purchase over $50, ask one question. Am I buying this thing, or am I buying relief from a feeling? If you're buying relief from a feeling, pause, not forever, just 24 hours. Put it in your cart, sleep on it, come back tomorrow. If you still want it and it fits your daily number, buy it, enjoy it, zero guilt. You'll be shocked how often it just doesn't matter anymore by the next day. And that 24-hour pause on just the impulse purchases that are emotionally driven, for the average person, that single habit saves somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 a year, not from deprivation, from just adding one day of friction to emotionally driven spending. All right, now we're getting into the stuff that actually changes people's financial trajectories. And I love this part because it genuinely requires almost no ongoing effort once it's set up. Rule number 3, automate the math, humanize the rest. And here's the thing. Willpower is a finite resource. Every financial decision you have to actively make is a withdrawal from your willpower account. And by the time most people get to the end of a workday, tired, maybe a little stressed, definitely hungry, that account is overdrawn. And that's precisely when the worst financial decisions get made. The solution isn't more willpower. The solution is removing the decision entirely. Here's the minimalist automation stack I recommend. And you can set this up in an afternoon. Step 1, automated savings transfer. Day 1 of every pay cycle. The day your paycheck hits, automatically transfer your savings contribution to a high-yield savings account. Not at the end of the month with whatever's left. Day 1, non-negotiable. Even if it starts at $25 a month, automate it. It's step 2, automated investment contribution. Day 2 of every pay cycle. If you have a 401k through work, great. Make sure you're at minimum contributing enough to capture the full employer match. That's a 50 to 100% instant return on your money. There is no investment in the world that beats that. None. And yet, according to the Federal Reserve's survey of consumer finances, roughly 27% of eligible employees aren't capturing their full employer match. That is free money being left on the table every single payday. If you don't have a workplace plan, open a Roth IRA. Automate a monthly contribution. Even $100 a month invested consistently from age 25 to 65 at historical average market returns grows to roughly $350,000 from $100 a month. The magic is the automation and the time, not the amount. Step 3. Automated bill, pay for all fixed expenses. Every fixed expense, rent, utilities, car payment, insurance, automated, no exceptions. This eliminates late fees, eliminates the mental load of remembering due dates, and prevents the psychological phenomenon called payment pain, the momentary discomfort of parting with money that causes people to delay payments and rack up fees. Step 4. One discretionary account for everything else. All your discretionary spending, your $30 or $57 a day, flows through one account, one debit or credit card. It paid in full monthly. Why? Because monitoring one stream is infinitely easier than monitoring 12, and it makes your monthly 90-10 audit which now takes you maybe 15 minutes, completely painless. Now you might be thinking, Dave, that sounds nice, but I live paycheck to paycheck. Oh, I barely have anything left to automate. And look, I hear you, and I want to be real with you about this. If you're genuinely in survival mode right now, step one isn't automation. Step one is the 90-10 audit. Find the structural leak and fix that first. Build even a tiny emergency buffer, $500 to $1,000, before anything else. Then, as that breathing room opens up, you build the automation stack one layer at a time. Progress over perfection. Always. Here's something I want you to genuinely think about, because this is one of those insights that sounds simple, but when it really clicks, completely reframes the way you look at income growth. There's a concept in behavioral economics called hedonic adaptation. It basically means that human beings are incredibly good at getting used to new levels of comfort, income, and lifestyle, and returning to roughly the same baseline level of satisfaction they had before. In plain English, the raise you're excited about today, in 6 months, it will feel like your normal salary, and you'll want more. This is why, and this statistic genuinely shocks people, the American Psychological Association found that income stops meaningfully improving day-to-day emotional well-being beyond roughly $75,000 to $100,000 a year for most people. Now, I know some people will push back on that number depending on where they live, and that's fair, but the principle holds at almost every income level. People making $200,000 often feel just as financially stretched as people making $80,000, because lifestyle has expanded in lockstep with income. This is called lifestyle creep, and it is the silent killer of wealth building. Here's what most people don't realize. You can earn significantly more money over your career and end up with less wealth than someone who earned less but kept their lifestyle modest. The math is unambiguous. A person earning $70,000 a year who saves and invests 20% consistently will almost always retire wealthier than a person earning $120,000 who saves 5%. It's not about how much you make. It's about the gap between what you make and what you spend. Minimalists call this gap the wealth gap. And the entire game of personal finance, stripped of all complexity, is just this: protect and widen the gap. So the minimalist rule here is what I call the 50% raise rule. Every time you get a raise, a bonus, or an income increase of any kind, at minimum, direct 50% of the increase to savings or investments before your lifestyle touches a single dollar of it. Let's say you get a $5,000 annual raise. That's roughly $400 extra per month after taxes. Under the 50% raise rule, $200 goes to your wealth gap. $200 goes to enjoying your life better. You get a real lifestyle improvement and you accelerate your financial trajectory at the same time. Nobody's asking you to suffer. Just split the raise before you get used to all of it. Do this consistently across your career, and especially during your highest earning years in your 30s and 40s. And the compounding effect is almost hard to believe when you actually run the numbers. All right, this last rule might be the most philosophically interesting one, and it's probably the one that's going to get the most pushback. But stick with me. That motivation is unreliable, clarity is durable. Here's the thing. Almost everyone who decides to get serious about money does it in a moment of high emotional motivation. Maybe they saw their account balance and panicked. Maybe a friend mentioned their investment returns. Maybe they watched a video like this one, and in that moment, they feel fired up. They're going to change everything. They're going to be different. And then 3 weeks later, life happens. The motivation fades. The system falls apart. Now you might be thinking, so what? How do you stay motivated? And look, that's the wrong question. Motivation follows action. It doesn't precede it. Waiting to feel motivated before building your financial system is like waiting to feel like exercising before you ever start a workout routine. You'll wait forever. The right question is, how do I make the right financial behavior so clear and so automatic that motivation becomes irrelevant? And this comes back to clarity. Specifically, knowing your number, not vaguely wanting to be rich or planning to retire someday. I mean a specific number, attached to a specific date, with a specific reason. Here's the exercise. I want you to complete this sentence. I want to have blank dollars by blank date because blank. 3 blanks. Fill them all in specifically. Not, I want to be financially secure. That's a feeling, not a goal. It's something like, I want to have $150,000 invested by the time I'm 40 because I want the option to work part-time and spend more time with my family. Here's what most people don't realize. Clarity about the why is what sustains financial behavior during the months when motivation is completely absent. Because your brain can't hold on to an abstract concept like financial freedom when you're tired and stressed and your favorite restaurant just dropped a new menu. But it can hold on to, I'm not ordering that because I want to work less when my kids are teenagers. Research in goal psychology, particularly the work of Dr. Gail Matthews at Dominican University, found that people who wrote down specific goals and reviewed them regularly were 42% more likely to achieve them than people who just had vague intentions. 42%. That's from just writing it down and being specific. The minimalist money philosophy, at its core, is about this. Fewer decisions, better clarity, consistent behavior, long-time horizon. That's it. That is the entire formula for building wealth. It's not complicated. It's not glamorous. It doesn't require a finance degree or a spreadsheet with 200 rows or waking up at 4 a.m. to trade stocks. It requires one number to track, one audit per month, one automated system running in the background, and one clear reason why you're doing any of this. Okay, let's recap the 5 minimalist money rules. And I want you to actually write these down. Not because it's homework, because the act of writing something down literally doubles the likelihood that you'll act on it. That's not a motivational platitude. That's neuroscience. Rule number 1, the 1 number rule. Know your safe to spend daily amount. 1 number. That's your entire daily financial dashboard. Rule number 2, the 90-10 audit. 90% of financial damage comes from 10% of decisions. Your housing, transportation, and recurring subscriptions. Audit those 3. Restructure 1. Rule number 3, the automation stack. Automate savings on day 1, investments on day 2, all fixed bills on autopay, and funnel all discretionary spending through one account. Remove the decisions. Remove the friction. Rule number 4, the 50% raise rule. Every time your income increases, split the increase. 50% to your wealth gap, 50% to your lifestyle. Protect the gap. Widen it every chance you get. Rule number 5, clarity over motivation. Write down your specific financial goal, the amount, the date, the reason why. Review it monthly. When motivation disappears, and it will disappear, your clarity keeps you moving. Look, I want to end with something real, because I know some of you watching this are in a genuinely tough spot right now. And I'm not going to stand here and pretend that 5 rules are going to fix everything overnight. But here's what I know to be true from every conversation I've had, every financial transformation I've watched unfold. The people who change their financial lives don't do it because they suddenly had more money. They do it because they got clear on what they were doing and why, and they built a system simple enough that they could actually stick to it. Complexity isn't sophistication. In personal finance, simplicity is the most advanced strategy there is. And the fact that it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. Sticking to any system takes real commitment, but it's so much easier to stay committed to something you actually understand. You don't need to overhaul your entire financial life this week. You just need to do one thing today, just one. Maybe that's calculating your safe to spend daily number. Maybe it's pulling up 3 months of statements and doing your 90-10 audit. Maybe it's logging into your HR portal and making sure you're getting the full employer match on your 401k. Maybe it's just writing down, for the first time ever, specifically, what you're actually working toward. One thing, today, that's it. And then tomorrow, do one more thing. And then next week, automate something. And then 6 months from now, you're going to look at your financial life and barely recognize it. Not because some miracle happened. It's because you stopped trying to manage a complicated system and started following 5 simple rules. That's the whole game. If this video helped you think differently about your finances, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this stuff. And if you haven't already, subscribe because every week I break down financial concepts in a way that actually makes sense for real people with real lives. And, hey, drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 5 rules is the one you're starting with today?